So probably you're going to ask, what about the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day? It's something like this, right? So the second day, the family will going to visit the grandmother or the grandfather. And then on the third day, the grandmother or the grandfather will going to visit the family as well. Go back into the new house, I should say. Chinese is more of a complex and traditionally encoded in terms of marriage, because there is what we call the marry in and the marry out, which is I'm not keen to talk about this right now, but something that I can put that into a video, and it will be something that I can share, something that I have observed so far, what's the tradition in here. So those are kind of visiting on the first day, the second day, and the third day. Those are being observed way back in the remote past. Well, again, disclaimer, this is only my observation and opinion based on a specific spot, a tiny village. But of course, I've already talked about the marriage. So for example, if you get a daughter and married, and that's called marry out, and the first day actually, your daughter cannot come to the family for visiting. Well, they say that that is a bad luck. Take note of that, guys. That is bad luck. Then you will ask, when will be the married daughter can come back and visit the parents? It's gonna be on the second day, go together to the grandmother, or on the third day, go to the to the family house. And that is something that I observed so far, repeating for several years, for the past 12 years right now. Let me just make it very clear, guys, that when the family will visit the grandmother or the grandmother will visit the family, then it's gonna be normally started at the lunchtime, and it's gonna be ending at the dinner time. So this is a kind of tradition that I noticed and experienced myself. So if you ask me what kind of food they are preparing, I told you guys that this place, the duck, the bloody duck, or dinuguang pato, is the most special one. It can't be a complete Chinese New Year without the bloody duck. Of course, they got the fish, they got the chicken, they got the tofu, and we got several things like this. I can show you just a real live one, which is probably could be a variant from a different family or practice. I heard someone that sometimes the food matters, the number of food, the kind of food that they will go to serve it matters. But the family, I did not hear so much about that. They just have to have the major ingredients. Number one is the duck, the fish, the chicken, and no KFC and McDonald's. I even tried to get some KFC last time, then it was not good, so put it aside. Don't mix that one with the traditional Chinese food dishes. One more that I'd like to include in this video is about the manners of drinking. You probably know in the Western world there's what we call cheers, and that's it. And bottoms up, well, those are basically the same as they celebrate the Chinese New Year, but it's more again encoded in the manners and etiquette. And what is that? Say for example, this is a bottle of beer, or that so-called jiajiu that they love to have it in here in the hometown. It's called DIY made wine. So if you're drinking with an older one, well, you have to position your bottle lower. That means to say that you are respecting the older one, or he's a kind of a higher person. Then you always try to position during the cheers process. You try to put my glass lower than it. Sometimes they try to lower it down as well. If you lower it down as well, they still lower it down, then you have to stop it. That means to say that they are respecting you. Just take note of that, guys, that there are two ways to have the cheers. First one, you have to position your glass like that. This is my glass. And if they don't move it, that's fine. But if they try to move it lower down and try to lower down one more, and then they still keep lowering down, you have to stop it and then go for the cheers. And the second one is that they try to handle the way. If you try to lower it that way, they try to push it up, then you have also to respect that. This is the kinds of manners and etiquette that I've learned so far that keep doing not only in the Chinese New Year, but even in a casual happenings like meeting of friends. Oh God, meeting of friends, the first time meet is more of an coded tradition, but those are the basic one actually that is being practiced during the Chinese New Year when drinking with beer, wine, or that so-called jiajiu. So what about that one I mentioned about the first time to meet? Okay, that's even more traditionally encoded way back in the past. But just like to mention that if you're meeting a person for the first time, then you have to go for the called bottoms up. In China, they call ganbei. Ganbei is like they're telling you to dry the cup. Ganbei means dry the cup. So the first time it's gonna be like cheers and bottoms up. So they always say like liang bei or two times bottoms up. I think that I'm gonna make a video for that to discuss about the manners and etiquette drinking with the Chinese, not only during the Chinese New Year, but a casual time meeting friends in the companies or outside or any things where you can start to meet friends and drinking with them. The most important one right now is that when you finish your wine, for example, so somebody will going to pour on your glass and you have to tap it to drink, something like that, which is a respect and that is a traditionally encoded according to a legend. And that legend is all about the emperor who disguised himself among the villagers because he wanted to find out what the villagers is talking about the emperor, so he disguised himself and then served the villagers, but one of the villagers recognized him, and that is why he kneeled down and then bowed to the emperor. So this one in here, I should say this one represent kneeling down and bow to the emperor. It's just like somebody offered to me and then I will kneel down and bow, and it's a kind of respect. Take note that the encoded in here is respect. So anyone who is pouring my glass right now with a wine or with anything, I think that except for water, it's normally for wine, then I'm going to do like this as a sign of respect, or probably it says thank you. Oh, you know, in Korea, if you wanted to drink with old one, you need to go drink like that. That is the Korean way. What about on the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, the seventh day, until the 15th day of the Chinese New Year? Well, that will depend on the arrangement of the family. Personally, for me, on the fourth day, the fifth day, and the sixth day, me and my native baby enjoy to fly the drone, and it's very happy for me to see him for the first time to fly the drone. And the other thing for me is that I go for hiking. I can't bring my native baby or the family don't like hiking. I go to the Jui Mountain, the National Forest Park Mountain. Hey guys, it's Ferdinand Dandy here and welcome to DIY Travel inside China. To finally close the Chinese New Year's, there is an ending festival known as the Lantern Festival, or they call it in Chinese as Yuan Xiaojie, which is mark the end of the Chinese New Year. The first day of the Chinese New Year on the lunar calendar was January 22, and the 15th day will gonna be February 5. Generally, in the whole of China during the Lantern Festival or the Yan Xiaojie, it's gonna be centered on the kind of traditional food that they prefer called the Tongyan, which is a sweet one like this. And let me discuss around what's gonna be the kind of celebration that I can able to capture in this camera on February 5, where I'll be in Huizhou and in Shenzhen, probably in Dongguan, just in the Guangdong province. And again, this is the Chinese New Year's video. It's nice to say during the Chinese New Year, Gong Xi Fa Cai, Gong Hei Fa Choi in Cantonese. We're gonna fly this tomorrow with my native baby.